Hey guys, James here and welcome to JC Sharp. This week I'm bringing you episode 2 in the Engineering Manager Transition vlog that I'm doing. But before I do talk about how the last few weeks have gone, just wanted to cover off a couple of things first. So firstly, a big massive thank you to all of my regular viewers and subscribers who've returned over the last few weeks for the latest content that I'm putting out. I've genuinely been blown away by the reception of the vlog style vids. They've done incredibly well, much better than I thought they would. So thank you for coming back and viewing more stuff on the channel. I really appreciate it. Second of all, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of the new subscribers I've picked up over the last few weeks. I think it's really, really awesome to see that the content is hitting new people outside of the sort of general circles that I share it in. So it's really nice to see some fresh names and fresh faces on the subscriber list. So thank you very much for coming along and showing an interest in what I'm talking about. And finally, I just want to say sorry for not getting this video out sooner. I had planned to do it, I think probably last week or the week before, but unfortunately my partner and I contracted COVID and it really hit me for 6. So I was off work for a week. I've only been back this week, and today is technically the first official day where I am COVID free. Still feel a bit ropey, but I feel well enough to be able to talk on a microphone for a number of hours, be it through calls for work or here on YouTube. So I figured actually today was probably the right day to get recording some content again and get it out the door so that you guys can see I'm still serious about it. So let's get on to this week's content then. So there's been quite a few things over the last few weeks that I'd really like to talk about. And the first one that I want to talk about is as much of a success as it is a challenge. So firstly, some really good news. We have a couple of new people joining the squad, and that's a great situation to be in, being able to grow the size of the team and share the knowledge that we've got and bring other people along the journey that we're going through. That's a really positive thing. But it does also come with its own challenges. So in terms of a bit of context and a bit of history about the squad, we are now quite sizable. We've got about 13 people currently. So with the 2 new people that we're going to be getting in the coming weeks, we're looking at about 15 squad members. And this includes the likes of engineers, QA testers, product people, and engineering managers. And when you look at that squad size, for a software development squad, it's quite large. In the software industry, there is a general terminology, a general concept around teams being what we call a 2 pizza size team. And this is an idea around the fact that you can feed a squad of developers and testers with just 2 pizzas. And in theory, anything larger than that is a bit of a challenge because it doesn't support low friction and high autonomy teams. Ideally, you want to go smaller, 1 pizza teams, but in our industry and in where we work, we like to look at 2 pizza size teams. And this introduces a number of benefits. So the idea of a 2 pizza size team means that it improves collaboration across the squad. It can help improve engagement. And at the same time, I think in squad sizes like that, individuals can feel more valuable in terms of what a squad delivers. And with that can become a lot more invested in particular. So one of the interesting things that I found over the last few weeks with this, though, was that the squad had become very self-aware that it was too big. So it came up in one of our retrospectives that a number of people in the squad didn't feel like they could be engaged properly within various meetings or for ideas and stuff because the squad was too big. They didn't feel like there was a psychologically safe platform for them to come in and talk about the ideas that they had. And naturally, as an engineering manager who cares for my squad, you know, that hit me, that got me. And the solution to it is what we're going to ultimately be doing, which is splitting the squad into 2 smaller squads that will be 2 pizza sized. But for now, obviously, it presents a challenge in that bringing more people in, while it's a huge success because we're growing and we can share more knowledge, equally, it's as much of a challenge because we are having to support new people and the team is getting bigger. So there's a risk there that it could become unproductive, it could become a lot more unstable, and ultimately drive people out because they might feel even more pressured in environments where they need to be engaged. So definitely something, like I say, fun and challenging at the same time over the last couple of weeks with that one. One of the other interesting things I've found over the last few weeks is that I've started to manage relationships between my squad and external squads. And one in particular sticks out that appears to have started in a really negative way. It's definitely not had a good foundation underpinning the relationship between my squad and this enablement team. And because of that, my squad in particular has started to feel very disempowered and lacking responsibility for the tools that they develop and that they support. And when I look at this relationship, I think unfortunately some of it has stemmed from a very top-down leadership style, in that high-level members of this other area have started to try and dictate what direction other teams should be going. And with that, my squad has sort of felt very disengaged in the whole process. What was supposed to be a really positive relationship that gave them additional tools and foundations to build on their own frameworks and own tool sets has actually become a very negative and frustrating experience right out the box. So I found myself drawn into that from an engineering manager perspective, with basically the responsibility to rework that relationship and coach it in the right direction. So over the coming weeks, there's going to be a lot of discussions around that, helping to rebuild that relationship and make it a more positive experience for my guys in particular, but also the enablement squad that's involved. But also importantly, to fight for my squad to have the empowerment back and to have the responsibility. I'm very, very firm believer that you should be driving a lot of these responsibilities down into the squads so that they have the tools and the power to be able to make their own decisions. And with that, there needs to come consequences. You know, there's certain topics for discussion that I'm sure will come up where there's very strong feelings about certain directions that things need to be taken. But I think at the same time, the squad should be having that responsibility with an understanding of the consequences that might come if they choose to follow certain paths. But I definitely think that responsibility needs to be pushed back down and the squad empowered to make their own choices. So over the coming weeks, I'll probably talk a bit more about that, how that relationship is building, and the type of things that I've been involved in discussing and doing to help try and bring my squad the power to do what they want to do again. Okay, so now on to the squad split in general. I mentioned earlier in the video that the squad size had gotten quite large, and that part of the solution to that was splitting the squad into two separate squads. One of the things that I think is going really well with this is that we're now working with product owners to split out all of the backlog. So we have an awful lot of features due for delivery over the next quarter and into quarter one. And we're now working quite closely with the product owners to understand which items sit where. And some of this is based on what skills we've got each side of the fence in the split, but also some of it is just around what side of the squad do we think is going to be best fit to take this on based on either previous deliveries that they've done, or in some cases it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which squad does it. So there's a lot of work being done there to make sure that the product backlog is in a situation where it can split quite nicely. And that's an ongoing discussion, but it's going really, really positively, I think is the important thing. With that, there will obviously be some lean on each side of the squad when the split does actually happen, whilst each side initially attempts to find its own feet and find some stability. But that's fine. We've expected that, and that also presents itself with some opportunities for the more lead level engineers to start working cross squad and provide support in various squad refinements, giving them more opportunities to work cross team within the area. So all in all, it's looking like a really positive space. And with that, we've also separated out a lot of our technical debt. So historically, that's all been sat within a single product stream, along with all of the deliverables that are due over the next quarter or two. But we've actually now split it out into its own separate area. And the benefit that brings is that both squads can now see it and contribute to it and draw from it. But also it's a footing for it to become more of a tribe level backlog for technical debt that even wider teams can now start to contribute towards and also draw from in terms of fixing technical debt work. The biggest thing I think with the squad split is now we have an idea of when things are going to happen, and we've targeted early January. Again, it's still a very sort of ongoing discussion, but the hope is that in the first couple of weeks of January, that is when the teams will ultimately split and will start to build their own autonomy. And this has a massive motivational impact to the squads as well. So historically, where I work, there's been a bit of a reputation for middle management to drag their feet a little bit with some of these kind of decisions. So it's really nice, in particular for me, to be able to show the squad that we're actually doing things. We actually have dates and time periods in mind for when all of this is going to happen. And so because of that, the squad is a lot more invested in it. They're a lot more positive about it, and they can see things being done. So all in all, that ball is rolling. And like I say, hopefully come early January, things will separate. The squads will be given their own platform to find their own stability, build their own autonomy. And with those smaller squad sizes, hopefully they'll start to become more productive as collaboration and engagement becomes easier and people start to feel more valued members of the squads. So it's looking positive. Okay, so that brings me to the end of this week's update. I hope you've really enjoyed listening to me ramble on about the various things that I've been up to. What I would like to do is end this week with a couple of extra tiny snippets of information. So first of all, I've noticed over the period of my transition to engineering manager that there's been an awful lot of resources offered in terms of reading material that you can take away and that you can review as a leader that is passionate about people leadership. And I figured what I'd like to do is occasionally just recommend something that I've read and I've looked at that I think would be beneficial for either engineering managers who have been doing the job for a while or other software engineers that are transitioning to engineering managers as well. So this week I want to talk about a book that I've been reading called Turn the Ship Around. And this is by a really popular author, David Marquet. And it's a fantastic read about transforming a leader-follower culture within nuclear US submarines into something more leader-orientated. And I mentioned it before about the idea of pushing responsibility down into the squads. And this is the thing that David Marquet writes about in this book, in that they drive the responsibility from top-down leadership right the way down to the individuals on the submarines. All of the empowerment that comes with this to the squads is something that I really echo in my day-to-day stuff as well. Generally, just a really fantastic book to read. So if you are interested and you do want to pick it up, again, it's Turn the Ship Around by David Marquet, available at most good bookstores and on Amazon. So feel free to pick it up and give it a read. Fantastic book. Lastly, what I would like to do is try and invite subscribers and viewers to ask questions. So I've seen a couple of other videos and channels that I follow that have done subscriber Q&As. So I'd really love it if Any of the subscribers or viewers that I do have, if you do have questions for me, please feel free to reach out. I'd love to be able to do a Q&A with you. There's a number of ways you can reach me. On the About section of the channel, there is my LinkedIn, there is my Twitter, and also my email address that you can contact me through. At the same time, feel free to leave comments on the videos as well. And I can either answer them there or I can include them in a QA in future. But I figured it would be a really, really good thing if there is anybody out there that's curious about anything at all in the transition from software engineer to engineering manager, whether you've been doing it for a long period of time or a short period of time like me, or you're thinking about starting the journey, please feel free to reach out and ask questions. And I'd absolutely love the idea of doing a Q&A video to answer people's questions should they come up. With that, thank you very much for watching this week. I hope you've enjoyed the content. If you have, please hit the subscribe button and the likes, and don't forget to ring the bell for the notifications of future videos. And to that, thanks very much for watching. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.